Welcome everybody, ProSpartanGamer here, and I done a video a while ago, I think just before, I think it was before PES 2014 came out, on my thoughts about Master League and what direction I'd like to see it go in, and additions and things that I would like to see changed and all that sort of razzmatazz. Well, obviously we're getting near to some announcements on PES 2016. We're going to hear more about it on the 12th of June if you haven't heard already. There's going to be some announcements on the 12th of June, whether that'll be about licenses, mode news, cover stars, or you know, I don't know what. It's probably not going to be a great deal, but obviously then E3 coming on the back of it, we will get some idea of bits and pieces that's happening with gameplay. E3, Asim Tanvir is probably one to be following for gameplay stuff. Also, there's going to be news from PES World and Glenn and things like that, you know, on news coming out of there. But what I wanted to do today in this video, I don't want to rabbit on too much of an intro. I want to get into the nuts and bolts of this video, and I'm going to use a Master League on 2015 to show you some bits that I would like to see changed and stuff I'd like to see done. I'm not going to use me Spartans Master League because I don't want any spoilers for people that's following the Master League series on there that's now in season 4. So I've got another Master League that I occasionally play just for myself, with Real Valladolid in the La Liga. As you can see there, we're 9th at the moment. We moved clubs. We started off at Barcelona B and then we took this job. But let's just go through some of the things. So first of all, the dashboard, it works reasonably well. It's nothing major, it's fairly straightforward, the dashboard. Team management, so my big bugbear really on this year's PES and on the PESs for the last couple years is training of your players. There doesn't seem to be, I mean, all of these are just on balance at the moment, so I just thought I'd stick them on balance to show you what I mean. This is really shallow. I'm not even sure how much difference it makes if you sort of concentrate. So say Adama Traore there, he's not the strongest on the ball, you know, or his passing's pretty shit, as you can see from the passing stats. So we would say let's work on his passing maybe. Does that make that much of a difference on this year's game? I'm not sure it does. Now, the training is a massive thing on PES, and this is going to be the main source of the change I want to see, really, on this year's or on future Master Leagues 2016 and beyond, is training. I want to see, you get a budget and you get gate receipts, okay? So let's start off with that. You get so much money from gate receipts and sponsorships. I want to see a position where you've got an option as a manager. Do you, say for example, look at Adama Traore again. There's chance to increase his passing stats by getting in a passing coach, or by buying a slot on passing or something that takes so many, he has to play so many games or do so many training sessions or whatever the case may be to improve his passing stats. But it's going to cost you, say, 500k. It's going to cost you $500,000. And in 2 years' time, his passing will improve, or over the course of the time, if you play him in games, his passing stats will improve. Then you've got to make a judgment call. Do I want to invest that sort of money on this player? Is he one I want to keep in my side and work on him and improve, or shall I go and buy someone else from another club who's already got the stats that we need? Now, those are the sort of decisions I think we want in a career mode. So if you go back to PES 2013, and I'm just going to show you some screens now on PES 2013, it wasn't done totally right with the boots. And I know there was a big uproar with the Magic boots, adding stats to certain, you know, kicking power, finishing stats and all that sort of stuff. But I like the other half of it. You had 4 slots which you could buy with PES points earned from games. So there's no reason why that couldn't have been PES money earned from games, if you like. You had the ability to then buy attributes to improve people's stats. The only thing that I didn't like about it is that it happened instantly. Now, if that could happen over a period of time, I think that would work. So let's just come out of Master League a minute. We will come back into it again, and I'll show you something that might be a good sort of starting point for where we start with the training that I'm talking about. Okay, we're in the become a legend mode now of PES 2015. Now this is very shallow still too, but for Master League, now would this something like this as a starting point for every player may well work. So you've got your training that you can acquire focal points. So you could be buying, say, so many focal points, and then decide what you're training them on. You've then got skill acquisition. So if someone, say for example, like Leonardo's here, we want him to have a long range drive, we've decided to use a couple skill points on that, and we're buying, and that's going to take over a certain amount of games for that to come through. I also like the idea of learning another position. Now I don't mean probably say a right winger is going to become a goalie or nothing stupid like that, but I think again, if you're the manager of a club and you want to turn, say, a right back into a right winger or a right back into a centre back, you should have that control, and there should be a way that if you purchase a certain coach or some coach attributes with your budget, that you can then turn a right back into a centre back or something like that. Though that's the sort of control we need in a career mode. We need the ability to make our own team unique to us. That's the important fact that I want to say to you. I don't want Chucky Boy or Glenn's or Lee Fulcher's or Dan Wally from PES World. I don't want their, I don't know, let's pick out a player. I don't want their, let's just think of someone, Jerry and Bagu, to be the same as my Jerry and Bagu. Because I've trained my Jerry and Baku in certain things for my team, how I want my team to play. So therefore his attributes are more suited to my team. Someone else's style of play might be totally different, so they've trained him into a different Jerry and Bagu. So I want each player to be different, and each player work for your team. So someone who might think a certain player is absolutely shit on Master League, he might be shit, but he might be able to be trained into specific things to make a good player for your team. I don't think, even though there's like thousands and thousands of players on the Master League and on PES, it seems to be that everybody always ends up with the same sort of 50 players, the good 50 players in the Master League, and a lot of players end up in the same teams. Well, I think there should be a far more able players in teams, you know. I think it should be far more varied with which players work. And I think if you had that element of control over training, it would be far better. But it's all got to be based on budget. So you've got to make that decision as a manager whether you choose to improve the players you've got by spending budget on their training or on position or on skill acquisition. It's got to be all based on that. And then it's a decision, do we train the squad we got or do we buy new? And those are the sort of decisions as a manager in a career mode I want. Okay, let's move on to something else. Okay, transfers on this year's PES. It's simple. It's very simple, isn't it? At the end of the day, let's just see Veltman from Ajax. We've got no money, but you can go in and you can sign, and straight away you can ramp that up to 17 million or whatever the case may be, and you get a smiley face. Okay, it's very basic. But I feel slightly guilty here because I actually quite like some of the simplicity in this. And I'll tell you for why. I like the idea that it doesn't matter what club you're manager of, if you've got the funds, and you've only got those funds through being successful, let's not kid ourselves, you ain't going to end up with like 50, 60 million if you're still in Division 2. So you've got the funds, you've been successful. I like the idea that any player on the game is a chance for you to buy. I'm not one of these that want, I play PES or FIFA or whatever football game you play it for fun. Yes, you want some realism, but I'm not one of these people who harp on about that's not realism, that wouldn't happen. Bollocks to that. I don't want to sit here and be manager, say I'm manager of Bournemouth, I've taken them to world domination. I've won the Champions League. I've won everything. But I'm never going to be able to sign a Lionel Messi or, I don't know, a Paul Pogba because I'm at Bournemouth and it would never happen in the real life. Well, hang on a minute. What's the idea of playing a computer game? It's to live out your dreams, isn't it? It's to be a football manager, live out your dreams, take a club that is dear to your heart. You know, obviously mine would be Everton, but I'm saying Bournemouth because they're fairly close to where I live and they've just got promoted, and get the world stars there. What's the point of a game if you can never do that? You're not going to be able to do it straight away because you've got to earn the money to be able to get there. So from this point of view, what we've got here, this simplicity in this year's transfers is okay. The fact that it tells you when you can actually afford to buy someone. There's two massive glitches with it though. The fact that you can put in that initial bid there, say of 17 million, and it can be agreed and then you can adjust it to a lower figure afterwards is just a joke. There's no way that you would negotiate a fee with someone and then change your fee by like 2 million and still get the player. Plus, if you find a player that they're happy to trade, you can sometimes wind that down in 2 or 3 different weeks and get it down to like next to nothing after a deal's already agreed. So those things need looking at. What I would like to see personally is I wouldn't like to see the start on this screen here. If you've got this screen here like this, get rid of the market value. You can leave the annual salary on there, but have an inquire button first of all. Don't have loan, and have an inquire button. Perhaps an inquire to sign or an inquire to loan button where you make an initial approach. Let's make an initial approach and then let's have several scenarios come back from it. Like, yes, this player would be interested, but the price range is going to be between these two figures. No, we're not looking to sell at the moment at any price. You know, the player's interested, but we're not. And then it might be a case of keeping him. No, we're not interested, but we might be prepared to loan him for 6 months. All different scenarios that you go on from there. So it's an inquire button that's missing, and the only way those inquire buttons are going to work if we come out of this here. And the other big thing that needs changing obviously is the schedule. We need a stop button every day on the schedule, so you stop it yourself or it stops every day. The reason they've made the transfer system so streamlined is obviously because it doesn't stop very often, only when there's an event. Well, get that out of the way, get the inquire button in and make it stop every day, or make us have control of when it stops. That is a big must. We must have control of that stopping, and then get the inquire button in and have some scenarios. I think that would be a good way ahead. And likewise, when you're selling a player, have teams inquire and have you in a position to put the answers back. Yes, we would be interested in selling him for this amount. No, not at the moment. Come back whenever. You know, yes, you can have him on loan. Maybe you can have him. We're interested in one of your players actually. Blah, 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 blah. You know, those sort of scenarios. Those are the sort of things I would like to see in the transfer system. The other thing is, where is it to? My team info? No. Database. Can't find it now. Youth team. I'm looking for. The youth team has just become a joke on PES, really. I know it's generic people that come in there and are generic, but they're just useless. It's just a waste of time, really, this youth team now. I would like to have the ability of being able to sign people into a youth team. I know this is going a bit left field and probably never going to happen, and it's probably asking quite a lot, but I would like perhaps an under-20 squad, an academy under-20 squad, that you actually can go and sign other under-20 players and they play in this under-20 squad. That you have the ability to actually play perhaps in training matches with your under-20 squad and throw in a couple of your reserve players here, there and everywhere if you want to see them play. And then set a parameter that when they get to a certain age, you've got to make a decision whether you're going to bring them up into the first team squad and sign them on professional contract. So you actually sign people into this under-20 squad. Anyone under 20 on the game, you can bring them into your under-20 squad, have a look at them, You know, obviously world stars that are 18, 19 are going to cost you a fortune, and you wouldn't be bringing them into your academy squad. But, you know, there's obviously some tweaking that would need to be done there. But have the ability to perhaps have training matches where you can actually see your reserve and your inner youngsters and see whether they're worth keeping and developing under those training parameters we set out earlier in the game or not. I just think otherwise it's a waste of time with this youth team at the moment. You know, maybe have some sort of five-a-side mode or something that you can play with your youth team squad to see what they're like or something. Well, how great would that be? A five-a-side sort of mode for training where you can actually see what your players like. All of these little things as well that I'm asking, if someone doesn't want this deeper Master League and doesn't want the academy and stuff like that, or doesn't want the headache of all the training, then obviously at the start of the Master League you can have a button to just say, you know, use your Master League without the training, without the in-depth training and all that sort of stuff. You know, make it that there is still a basic Master League for people that don't want the extra stuff. But the youth team definitely is looking at, and while we're talking about young players, regens, you've got to have regens to give the game longevity. I understand that. But the way they've come back into the game on this year's PES, they're free agents, a lot of them, easy to sign, but they've not got great overall stats, but when you look into their actual stats, some of the stats are incredible already. So that's the bit that they've got wrong. The stats have got to be shit when they regen, so that there's some sort of development. I don't want to be signing a 17-year-old Francesco Totti who's already at the level he was when he, you know, in his 30s. That's just a load of bollocks. He's got to be shit and you've got to develop him and bring him on. Otherwise the regens is just a joke, because it's almost like a cheat. They come into the game as free agents. Let's get them into your side, and, you know, they're instantly on a great salary and one thing and another, and they're instantly improved your side. That's why I made a decision, no regens on my Spartans Master League. Not yet anyway. Eventually I'll have to if I want to play the game for season after season. But that's the decision I've made at the moment. Also, there's a few too many free agents on this year's PES. They're nice because you can sign them, and if they're shit, you can still get rid of them and make a nice little tidy profit in your bank balance, which certainly helps. But I think there's probably few too many free agents appearing that are easy for you to sign, and making it just that little bit easier. So obviously, going back to the training, that sort of helps with the players' growth, I suppose, if you like, and how they're going to grow. You know, if you can do training with them, then obviously that's going to help with the way they grow and develop. What I don't like on these stats, let's pick a player. Let's pick Dongu. So obviously reasonable stats. The stat that I hate on PES, and I've hated for a long time, is the form stat. What does that actually mean? I mean, form of 3 is obviously under average, 4 is average, but it doesn't mean that he's out of form that often in reality, looking at the way it's worked on this year's game with the blue and the purple arrows and everything. And why doesn't that form improve as they get older? Young players, you expect a dip in form, but when they get older, you expect them to be more consistent. So why isn't there a chance of that form improving as they get into their sort of peak years, if you like? So that's something that needs looking at. The other thing on here is injuries. I have played 4 seasons, in the 4th season on my SB Spartan series, not once have I had a player missing through injury. I don't want loads of players missing for the whole season on injuries, but really, why is there no injuries in PES? Why is there no injuries in the Master League at all in PES? Yes, you've got the form arrow that annoys the hell out of you when they're on a purple form arrow, but why don't you have, Dongu's pulled a hamstring, he's going to be out for 3 weeks. We used to have injuries on PES and on the Master League. I think that's something that does really need to come back. Especially like in games, if someone's been clolloped and they're lying on the floor holding their leg, I've never seen it come up that they're unable to continue and you've got to take them off, and then they're missing for a couple games. So where's that gone? That's gone missing as well. So that needs to come back into it. definitely. Little tiny things. Other scores at half time when you're getting close to the end of the season and it's getting tight at the top of the title, like we had last year in season 3 on our Spartans. How great it would have been after I've had the half-time scores from all the other games like we used to have. That's something that's been taken out. Other scores at half-time, just to add to the drama of it. That needs coming back in. When you sign a player, I would like to see the press conference again, and making that a little bit more special when you sign a player. Not just say we've signed 3 people and then just one of them have their picture up in that dark room with the light shining on them where they've been done for being a paedophile or whatever it is. Let's have the actual press conference, and like if it is a real special big signing, them going out on the pitch. Things like that. Let's spruce that right up. Let's make it a really big event when you've actually signed someone. Those sort of things. What else have we got? I've got loads of notes wrote down here, so we've got some other bits and bobs. Obviously, I'm going to say it, and those of you who've known me will know that this is coming up. Why can't we have player career stats in Master League? We have player career stats in Become a Legend. You used to have player career stats on Master League Online. Why no player career stats in the Master League? Simple little screen. I'm going to put up a couple of my career stats that I've done with my Spartans this year, but that would just do something as simple as that. But just a little picture of the player in the top corner, perhaps the year you signed them, perhaps who you signed them from, how much you signed them for, and then appearances, goals, man of the matches, average rating, whatever. But you keep the records every year. How much harder would it be to just collaborate those records, and the players that you have for multiple seasons have a career stats sheet for them? I don't know, but just for me, that's what you want. You're playing a career mode as a manager. The Master League is a career mode as a manager, so you want career stats for your players. Surely you ought to have career stats as the manager as well. If you move clubs and all that. The moving clubs, not got a problem with that being added. It gives you the option. I've obviously got the Spartans where I'm not moving clubs. I've got this other one here where I'm happy to move clubs. And like the national management thing, not got a problem with that as long as there's more international tournaments on the game. I think I played quite a few seasons and it was just constant friendlies with a manager. We do need competitive games in there for the national management to make it a little bit more interesting, for sure. I would love a second domestic cup competition. Like in England, you've got the League Cup and the FA Cup. I would love a second domestic cup competition. Don't see why that can't be added. I think that would add a little bit as well. There's no reason why that couldn't be added at all. What else have we got on my sheet of wonder here? I think we've gone through. I don't want too many changes. I know a lot of people are saying about things to the gameplay of PES. I'm sorry, but I might be old school. I'm really enjoying my PES 2015, and yeah, there's one or two little niggles with the referees and things like that. Keep blowing and getting yellow cards, and team ID could be improved. So there's a little bit more variety on the teams. But as a whole, I'm really happy with the gameplay. I mean, 2014 it was shit, so I'm really happy with 2015, and hopefully they don't go too far away from where they are now. I'd be really happy if it sticks like that. But the main things that for me are schedule that you can stop each day, transfer system, inquiries first please, but don't do away with the fact that you can still live the dream and make a shit club big and sign all the best players, because for me that's what a game should be about. I don't want it to be ultra real. Same with the gameplay. Yes, people say that's not realistic, but it's a game, for God's sake. You're playing 10 minutes total, a whole game. You want it to be exciting. You don't want a stream of nil-nils, nil-nils, nil-nils. You want to be able to occasionally score from 35 yards with an overhead kick or something stupid. Let's not get away from the fact that it is still entertainment. We don't want to be sit here bored stiff playing a game like Republic of Ireland v England the other night, do we? Let's be honest about it. We need to do more with the budget. We need to have more control over the budget on our PES. Like, do we sign coaches, scouts, etc., to increase the players' stats? That is a big thing for me. The training needs to be a lot deeper, like I said, on the Master League. I like some of the things from 2013, and we flashed up a few screens of them with the slots. It just needed to be time orientated. It didn't need to be instant. It needed to be over a certain amount of time, and probably it depends on how much money you commit, how long it's going to take to make your, one of your players improve on that stat. So I like that. I would like the idea of being able to play with a youth team. And the other big thing with the youth team, can you only bring a youth team player up during the transfer window? That's another pet hate of me. They're in the youth team. You should be able to bring them up whenever you want. It shouldn't be only during the transfer window. So that's a big thing that needs changing as well for me. On the whole, really good blank canvas to work from PES 2015 with the Master League, but it needs meat putting on the bones. And the meat that needs putting on the bones for me is the training, it's the schedule, being able to stop each day, and the transfer window. Hopefully that's given you some ideas for your Master League and how you think it should be. Obviously people might disagree with me. Have your say in the comments below. It's just my opinion. It doesn't mean to say it's wrong or right, because it's my opinion. I love me PES. I've been playing PES now for the best part of 15 years or more, nearly 20 years. So I think I have a right to be able to say how I think it should go. Okay, dudes, stay safe, and don't forget to catch up with me Spartans and all the news from E3 coming in the coming weeks. Check all that out on PES World. Cheers, dudes. Catch you soon.